Hello and welcome back to the Gilbert F. Stansel Musical Instrument Museum here at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp. My name is Dave Bower and I'm the curator. If you've ever been to this museum or any other musical instrument museum, you'll know that the world of musical instruments is incredibly varied and diverse. And you'll also probably have guessed that any instrument museum's collection is probably just the tip of the iceberg, and there's probably lots more out there that you don't see, but that you can find out about through other ways. But that variety can even happen within the same musical instrument family. And so I'm here in the bowed stringed instruments section of our museum just to demonstrate that a little bit for you today. Let's sort of define our terms. This is, of course, what everybody knows as a violin. This is a beautiful example of a violin here in our collection that was made by an American manufacturer named Andrew Hyde. So let's just talk about the different parts of it. We've got the headstock up here at the top, which has this beautiful scroll, a tuning peg for each one of the strings. Then this part is called the fingerboard, where you put your fingers down to make the various pitches. Then the bridge here, where the strings go across, is actually very arched, and stringed instrument players know that you can't bow all four strings at the same time. This piece at the bottom here is called a tail piece, where the strings attach at the bottom. We've got what's called a chin rest here. Sometimes you can have a shoulder rest attached to the back. And then this little button at the bottom on larger stringed instruments like the cello and the bass, that would have an adjustable end pin that you would put into that you would stick into the floor in order to be able to support the cello or the bass. So these are the parts of the violin. It's also got a beautiful shape, and the model for modern stringed instruments was set for us by manufacturers like Stroh and others more than 300 years ago, and that's the basis for which we build stringed instruments today. So, but even this instrument can be called different things depending on who's playing it. All of the orchestra majors here, of course, would refer to this as their violin, but if you play country music or bluegrass, you might refer to this as a fiddle before you call it a violin. Now, let's look at an instrument that's quite a bit different. Here is a folk instrument from Norway called a Hardanger fiddle. And right away, even though you see that it has similarities to the violin, all of the differences begin to jump right out at you. First of all, the headstock there, isn't that beautiful? It's shaped like a dragon, and we've got 8 tuning pegs, which means there's 8 strings on this. We have a beautifully, beautifully decorated fingerboard. The tailpiece on this instrument actually has been replaced, but originally it would have been decorated like the fingerboard. Also, the bridge on this is very flat, which means you bow all 4 strings at the same time. The F-holes are also kicked out a little bit from the side of the instrument. That is to help the sound to project a little bit better. And finally, we've got these strings that are going through the bridge and underneath the fingerboard. And they make a sound by a process that's called sympathetic vibration or sympathetic resonance, because you can't get your finger or your bow in there to pluck them. And depending on the pitches that you're playing on the normal way on the fingerboard, one or more of the strings underneath there will begin to vibrate and give you some extra warmth and color and ringing to the sound. Now, there's also a very, very interesting instrument that we have in our collection that's supposed to be something like a violin, but looks very, very strange and very, very different. This is called a Stroh violin. And this particular type of violin came into being around the time that sound recordings were starting. Because in the beginning, sound recordings were not made with microphones. They were made with giant acoustic horns that kind of looked like the bell of a tuba. And you had to be able to play directly in there in order to make your sound heard. So singers and trumpet players and wind instrument players who could direct their sound were in pretty good shape. But violins, the sound is kind of disperses all around the player, and so you needed a way to be able to direct the sound. And so you replaced the beautiful, warm, wooden body of the violin with this big horn, and so that you could direct the sound right into the recording horn. So instead of getting the regular sound of the violin, you get this really interesting sound. Now, I'm not a string player, so don't criticize the bow hold or the way I'm holding the violin, but you get this. It's a little bit different sound. So that is the type of variety that you can have even within the same musical instrument family. And we'll talk a little bit about that with other instruments in other videos. We look forward to seeing you all back here at camp in 2021. We hope that you're well and safe. Keep an eye on our social media pages this summer for more fun stuff, and thanks for watching this virtual arts video brought to you by Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp. See you later. Bye-bye.